Hey guys, welcome back to Dana Disagrees. Pretty skinny women aren't worth it. That's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get going, do not forget that I have a school community for men who are working on their 3Ms. It's called 3M Men. 3Ms, remember, mind, muscle, and money. So make sure you head on over there and join that community. Make sure you are following me on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I'm Dana Disagrees everywhere. But pretty skinny women aren't worth it. That's what our topic is today. And I know that might seem like maybe a little bit of an outlandish statement, and that's why I make statements like that. And we're going to go through that and we are going to explain it today. So, first things first, I do not hate pretty skinny women. Okay? There's nothing inherently wrong with them. So let's just, kind of get that out of the way. But when women tend to be, like in terms of looks, right? When they tend to be, 8s, 9s, and 10s, what tends to happen? Have you ever noticed this? They tend to have attitude problems, or they tend to be dramatic or chaotic, or they're not supportive, and they're just really kind of a pain in the ass. And why are they like that? Well, it's because they've been able to coast on their looks their whole life and get away with that attitude, right? They have this almost, I don't totally subscribe to the idea of pretty privilege, but they almost have this kind of pretty privilege of they can get away with things just because they're skinny and pretty and look good and people accept their poor behavior. Now, if a woman is objectively, like a 5 or less, like average or less, that tends to not be the case because, well, she has to have a good attitude. She can't be too dramatic. She can't be chaotic because she doesn't have the looks to make up for it. And don't hate me for saying that. I try to live in reality and I try to be just grounded about what's actually going on in culture as much as possible. And we all know this to be true. I'm just kind of the one who's saying it out loud. But when we look at women, the higher on the scale that they tend to be for looks, we tend to, right? Rules and exceptions to rules. We tend to see a lot more attitude problems. I was kind of thinking I would tell you guys a few stories of some men who have reached out and told me their stories of the men or of the women that they deal with in their life. So one guy that I know, he's upper 30s, I think, and he has a pretty skinny wife. And the thing with her is she tends not to be very supportive of his career. I mean, like she kind of is, but she's also not like that involved and as supportive as she really could be. She wants to stay at home with the kids, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that, but then also doesn't necessarily want to manage the household though, like how normally women would when they stay home. She still kind of expects him to almost have that mothering, managing the household feminine touch, which is kind of wild. Women need to be able to do that. Men are the ones out conquering the world and providing so that women can stay home and do that. But she doesn't, really want to. And then she always kinds of finds a way to turn things and always makes things his fault. And kind of just finds a reason to complain about anything, even though their life is going pretty well. And so I think some of these stories are really interesting because, okay, again, skinny and pretty, but kind of like chaotic and causing a bunch of issues. Now, the funny thing about what I said about that is a little bit generic, but let me get a little more specific about this one, because the thing that's interesting then about this guy is he's like chronically sick. Okay, he has had a number of infections that he's had to deal with. He constantly seems to have some kind of cold. Something is always going on inside of his body. Now, there can be a variety of reasons for this, but when you look at a whole big picture, if you're constantly fighting when you go home and you're fighting just for basic support of your career and your life, what do you think that does to your body? Don't you think that can negatively impact your health? Now, this guy in particular, I mean, I happen to know, first of all, he did marry the wrong person and he's also in the wrong career. So all of that just kind of like compounds and makes it hard for his body to function. I feel very confident in saying if he was actually with a different woman, if he was actually in a different career, a lot of his problems, a lot of his flare-ups that he has, a lot of his colds and just his worn down immune system, a lot of that might get a whole lot better simply because he's changing his environment. And when you change your environment, you change the environment, you can change your genes. There's a whole thing called epigenetics out there, and that's the study of how your environment affects your genes. And I'm very confident that if he would just change his environment, his body could get a whole lot better. His constitution could get a whole lot stronger. But instead, he's chronically sick most of the time. Just think about that. Think about what a toll a crabby bitch woman can take on your body. And that's what's happening to him. That doesn't happen to every man, but that's an example of what, can happen. I know another man who, again, married to a pretty skinny woman, and she would complain that he would go to lunch with his friends instead of having lunch with her, complain that he wasn't home early enough, complain about how late he worked and things like that. She would complain about the way that he talked, like that he swore too much. She would complain about the TV shows that he watched, like Friends, Two and a Half Men, Whose Line Is It Anyway? And there was another one. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But shows like that. Oh, Family Guy. That was the other one. She would complain that he would watch shows like that. And I mean, I don't know about you guys. I personally think those are like really hilarious. And I know that they're not for everybody, but that was an actual point of contention. So skinny and pretty, but complained about all these little details. And all he's trying to do is to provide a good living for his wife and for his family. All he's trying to do is just like live his normal life. And she's constantly crabby. She's constantly a crabby bitch. Everybody else could see it in her too. And that is a woman that I have also met. And all of these stories, I not only know the man, but I have also met the woman in these, so I can attest to all of these things. I know another man, this is a third example. I know another man who, he's a business owner. He started a business, and all his wife has done is not support him in growing and scaling his business. She would actively work against him. It may not have been super obvious on the surface, but when you don't have that support system at home, and when she is complaining again about you not being home on time, or spending too much time at work, or spending a weekend at work, or spending time doing some work on a holiday when you're trying to build something really great, that's a lack of support. You know how like men are driving, a boat, and you're at the front of the boat, and you have the vision for how things go, and you're just trying to move everything ahead, and then you got people in the boat, and those people need to be ferociously rowing the boat along with you, because if they're not, then you throw them overboard, right? I mean, this is the person who was in the back of the boat drilling holes in the boat. So how hard or how easy do you think it is to move that boat forward when you have a woman who does that? Okay, in all three of these examples, all the women are skinny. They're all pretty, but they're also all crabby bitches and pains in the ass. And that has affected every man in a different way, right? And what's funny about it too is I look at some of these men too, and then I look at their careers, and I'm like, man, if you would just have a support system, you would be so much further along in business, and you'd be so much further along financially. Right? They have actually cost him, especially the business owner, but they have cost him millions and millions and millions of dollars. Because when you don't have that woman who is a true partner who wants to build with you, it's going to cost you so much. There's this saying among men, I do not agree with it, but there's this saying that it's cheaper to keep her, and I completely disagree with that. It is actually very, very expensive. It's very expensive to hold on to the woman who is drilling holes in the back of the boat. It's really expensive to hold on to the woman who is just an anchor to your boat. You can't have that. You can't actually have anybody like that in your life, but you definitely cannot be married to that person. That doesn't make any sense. You as men are meant to go out and build really amazing, incredible things. And if you have the person who is supposed to be your support system holding you back, not supporting you, not even breathing life into you, what's her purpose then? Because just being skinny and pretty isn't a purpose. You still need someone that you need to be able to build with, which is why then I tell men all the time This is just for consideration. I tell them all the time, when you are looking for a woman, I want you to consider sacrificing what I call sexy points. Okay, women need their three S's together. They need to be sexy, supportive, and serene. And I think it's worth considering sacrificing a few sexy points to get some supportive and serene points. So if you have a woman who's like a 9 in looks, probably she's going to be like a 2 to 4 on the supportive and serene scale. And is that really good? Is that really a high value woman? Is that really a good woman that you want in your life to build with? Probably not. I would advise against that. That is not worth your time. That pretty skinny woman is not worth your time. You know what is worth your time? If you could sacrifice if you could get, say like a 6 or a 7 on the look scale, on the sexy scale, you could probably get, she's going to be a lot more balanced. She's going to be much more likely to be like a 6, 7, 8 on the supportive and the serene scale. And that would be a much better choice and packaged woman for you. And the thing with men, I know you guys are really visual. And so I know that you can look at the 8s, the 9s, and the 10s and, think they're hot. But I also know you're so much smarter than that. And you know that looks aren't everything and that the supportive and the serene, honestly, it matters more than what the sexy does. It's going to take you farther in life. And if she is supportive and serene, that just helps to elevate your status and it helps other men think that you also landed a really good woman, and it's going to make her appear to be even hotter when she is supportive and serene in your life, right? So women, sexy, supportive, and serene. So sexy, okay, first of all, we're kind of getting to the point in culture where sexy should just be that should just be a given. There's not really a reason for anybody to be a 2 anymore. We all know how we are supposed to eat. We all know where the gym is. We all know how to do hair and makeup. There's not really a reason for anybody to be a 2 anymore. We can all elevate how we look. Okay, that's men and women, but definitely because it's so important for women, but definitely for women. You can always, always, always be putting so much effort into your appearance and maintaining your appearance, regardless of genetics. I understand that naturally some women are going to be more attractive and some are not, but we can all do things to help enhance our beauty and help enhance our features. Okay, so sexy, that should just like be a given. But then supportive is like, does she support your purpose and does she want to build something with you? And when I say build something with you, that doesn't mean she has to be next to you at work building the same thing that you are building a life. A woman who stays home with kids, she can still be a builder with you. It's just, are you aligned in your purpose? Is your purpose her purpose? Is she coming along? Is she allowing you to lead? Are you walking the same path or are you not walking the same path? Because if you're not, you're going to have a really hard time and you're going to have a whole lot of hard decisions that need to be made down the road. And the longer you're together, the harder that's honestly going to be. But that's supportive and the importance of just being supportive of your man. And then serene. Serene is another way of saying peaceful and tranquil and calm. Because you guys, when you come home, do you want to fight with somebody over dumb shit for that matter? No. Like where to go to eat or, I don't know, what kind of throw pillows you need to have. You shouldn't even have throw pillows. I personally think they're just like such a waste of time. It's just a decoration and it's something extra that needs to be taken care of or cleaned or something like that. I don't get that. Men don't care about throw pillows. I certainly don't give a shit about throw pillows. But do you want to have like arguments around the house of what the house needs to look like? Do you want to come home and then have to walk on eggshells constantly because you got home at 5:30 instead of 5? Do you want her being angry that you decided to stay late because you are in a grind mode and trying to build everything that you have? Do you want her mad that you're going to work on the weekends instead of going to see her parents? You don't want someone like that. You need someone who's peaceful and who's tranquil and who is not like combative with you all the time, looking to pick a fight all the time. You know, the women who are looking to pick the fights all the time? Lots of times it's women who are just making up problems, and women have time to make up problems often if their life is just too good. Because when life gets too good, the human brain looks for problems. It looks for things that could be wrong, even if they're not wrong. This is probably why HOAs exist. But they look for things that could be wrong, even though they're not wrong, and they look to pick a fight over it because your brain, this is part of our program, your brain looks for problems. It's programmed to look for problems because it used to be a survival tactic, except for we have life really good now, and especially women, right? Men, they go out and build and they build and they build. And then if they don't have something to build, they find something else that they can be doing, and they're actively working because men are wired a little differently than women. Women would probably stop and they would look around and see what kind of problems they could possibly find. And if you're coming home to something like that, it's going to be a really bad day for you because you're going to have to fight that woman every day. And that's the last thing any of you need when you come home after giving it your all at work. I think we can probably all agree with that. But you don't want someone who is complaining about when you get home. You don't want someone complaining that you swear. You don't want someone complaining about the TV shows. You don't want someone complaining about who you're working with. You don't want somebody complaining about how late you're working, what time you get home, or what you're doing with your weekends, or if you are skipping dinner with the in-laws. That's insane. It's actually very, very, very insane. It's supportive and serene. They take the cake compared to sexy, right? Just getting the 9 sexy and then sacrificing and having to have a woman who is, having a pretty skinny woman who then is combative and dramatic and makes shit up all the time. That just is not worth it, you guys. I hope you see that, and I hope that makes sense to you because I'm trying to warn you to stay away from those. Are there some women out there who are hot and then they also are supportive and serene? Yeah, absolutely. That's a thing that happens, and I hope that's who you find. I'm just here to tell you, be careful because it's just not always the norm. I'm hoping to make it the norm, but it's not always the norm, and I want you guys to find that full 3S package. I want her to be sexy, and I want her to be supportive, and I want her to be serene for you guys. Pretty skinny women aren't worth it. Okay? They're just not worth it if they're going to give you all these headaches and troubles of made up fucking problems. It's just not worth it in your life. Okay? Your real flex. The real flex is not having a pretty skinny woman on your arm. The real flex is having a good woman on your arm. One who is sexy, one who is supportive, and one who is serene. She's the one that you can actually brag about to other men. And she is the one who will elevate your status in the eyes of the other man. When other men are looking at you, they might notice that she's super pretty and put together, and that's all nice. But when they see that she is calm and peaceful, when they see how supportive she is of you, that's when they really think that you did well. That is the real flex for a man, getting and keeping a 3S woman, one who is sexy, supportive, and serene, full package. You're not having to make a bunch of sacrifices to just put up with some kind of woman. I don't want you guys to just have some woman at home that you play house with and she keeps your bed warm. I want you to have the real thing, the real full package. And that's why I wanted to make this today, to just tell you to watch out. Pretty skinny women, they may not be worth it. I want you to watch out. I want you to get the full, actual, real package. All right. Reminder, 3M Men on School. I want you guys to go and join that because that is full. I'm at well over 500. I'm almost at 600 men who are inside of there who are working on their 3Ms, their mind, muscle, and money. We post inside of there. We share our stories inside of there. I give tips inside of there. There's some free content in the classroom of some personal development talks that I have done in the past that I want you guys to go check out. And it's a really great place for a lot of you men to even be able to connect. I have my course inside of there that's called How to Win, which is all about building your 3Ms. We touch on all the 3Ms. We touch about legacy, how to attract and keep a good woman. That is definitely worth checking out. But go join 3M Men inside of school. Be sure you are following me on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and now here on YouTube. Most of my content, as you know, if you already follow me, is, 45-second clips, which is why I wanted to start doing this podcast too, because then I can give a little more background, a few more thoughts, and let you guys see even a little bit more of my personality and how I talk to you. And when you talk to me for 15 minutes, what it's actually like. So go follow me everywhere, go join school, do all of the things, and I will see you guys on the next one.